My name is Alison Bain, and I'm going to tell you about King O'Malley's house and my thoughts while living in his home. Who was King O'Malley? I bought the old dilapidated Federation House in South Melbourne over 30 years ago. Not long after I moved in, friends and local people, seeing the historic brass plaque on the front wall, began to tell me little stories about this unique person who had lived here for 43 years. Gradually, from these snippets, King O'Malley's character began to emerge in my mind, and his presence seemed to become part of the very fabric of the house. About this time, there was a musical performance called The Legend of King O'Malley, written by Bob Ellis. It was being played at the Melbourne University Union Theatre. I felt compelled to go. It was the most uncanny experience being in the audience, watching and learning about this character and his colourful life. To think he had lived in my house for all those years. In the living room, nestled between the fireplace and the wall, is the original built-in high bookshelves and a desk. It has a drop-down writing flap of inlaid crocodile leather, and there are many little pigeonholes of differing sizes and shapes. Imagine what treasures filled these spaces. More than likely, it would have been very important papers and pens and old stone ceramic glazed inkwells. I found a shiny brown one buried in my garden. The crocodile leather is suggestive of quality and class. The craftsmanship of the desk is more like that of an artisan's, reflecting a personal touch. As I peeled away many layers of the old wallpaper during our restoration, I imagined the type of lifestyle that had filled each room. There were exotic papers of plum red flock in the living room and pretty floral flowing designs in the bedrooms. Here, elegance and flamboyance were exposed. That old desk and the wallpapers seemed to reflect two sides of King O'Malley's character, flamboyance on the one side and simplicity on the other. I imagine the old desk would have been a very important feature of his lifestyle. A member of Federation Parliament for many years, he demanded social reform and justice for the low-income earner and support for the rights of women. He had great concerns about the way alcohol ruined many families, referring to it as the devil's juice. Eventually, he established the Commonwealth Bank of Australia as the People's Bank, giving them the opportunity to manage their own finances. This was the first bank of its kind in Australia. I wonder how he would feel today at the changes to privatisation of the banks. King O'Malley achieved much during his time as a parliamentarian. As Minister for Home Affairs, he was involved in selecting the design for the new layout of Canberra and its beautiful buildings by the architect Walter Burley Griffin. He established Australia House in London and worked for the recognition of Aborigines and much more. Yet, in spite of his American background and his forward-thinking and progressive ideas, he was not always appreciated by his contemporaries. At the time of the First World War, he was against conscription and the Prime Minister's act of the day, who was Billy Hughes. O'Malley was an individual character. He delivered his speeches in a showmanship way, changing serious matters into lightness and a joke. One can feel this lightness in the house. It is full of light. 2 old skylights with sides of patterned pressed metal, let in the midday sun. Glass has replaced the top wooden panels in the living room doors, letting in more light. They have individual curved tops which are reputed to be his handiwork. But they say again something of the personality of King O'Malley. Lightness, no dark corners, with a personal touch of individuality. He was a philanthropist. He set up the Emily Macpherson Domestic College for Young Ladies, which is still funded today through a trust referred to as the King and Amy O'Malley Trust Fund for postgraduate studies in home sciences. He had a genuine kindness towards children. Many times I have heard the story from elderly local people how, at Christmas time, children would come to his gate or wait for him as he stepped off the train at the Albert Park station. He would reach into his pocket and give them a threepenny piece. Other times it would be a penny. If ever a child asked a second time, King O'Malley would remember his face and woe betide that child. Children still come through the old gate, but they ask me to sponsor their school sports activities or their school fund raising for charity. Maybe there is some spirit at the old gate that draws them through. Who knows? I have some old prints of photos of the living room. They show the old gilt wall mirror near the desk. Both are delightful features in the room today. One photo shows O'Malley sitting in his big armchair by the fireplace near his desk, wearing his bow tie with his fob watch and chain attached to his waistcoat. Perhaps he gathered his thoughts and ideas for Parliament as he sat there, gazing into the flames for inspiration. It is a place where I feel most comfortable, absorbing that sense of home, especially on a cold winter's evening as I watch TV. I have read how much he cherished coming home to his little house in Albert Park after the long train journey from Parliament in Canberra. I cherish my little home too.